Hello and happy Sunday. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I choose to rejoice and be glad in it. I hope you are having an amazing Sunday. I am. It's beautiful. We've had some stormy weather here in the Bay Area over the past, I guess, couple weeks, a week or so ago. But this weekend it's been absolutely beautiful, and the sun is shining. The rays are on me. I'm getting my natural vitamin D, and it's feeling really, really good. And I just left church, and had an amazing time. My niece, she's 17 years old, and she had reached out to me earlier in the week and was telling me some things that was on her heart concerning being a young woman of God and a woman in the Lord and things like that. And so we started talking about church and places of worship. And she was saying that she wanted to visit a church that was more connected, a place she could be more connected to, in terms of her age group, culturally, and just, some place where she could relate. And so I was like, I have the perfect church. We went and visited the Rock Church in Antioch. Pastor Christopher Foster, and it was an amazing time. I've known him for some years, had the pleasure of watching him grow up from a young man and being a youth pastor to where he is now, being a phenomenal pastor and leader of this generation in the Bay Area. Is doing a really great work. When I was telling my niece about him, and he's in the area where she lives, when I was telling her about him, I was telling her he's, very relevant. He can relate to, different age groups, and certainly would be someplace where she could feel comfortable inviting people to church. She has an amazing spiritual gift, and young people tend to gravitate to her and even ask her questions about the Bible and about prayer and things like that. And so I told her that would be a good place for her to be able to feel comfortable inviting people in her age group to church. And we went today, and she really, really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed watching her enjoy and receive confirmation from the Lord, and see her nodding her head in agreement, and all that type of stuff. And so it was really, really a good time, and just really excited for them because they're moving into a brand new facility the first Sunday in November. And so where I don't live on that side of town, and so I'm not that wouldn't be a church that I'm going to attend regularly, but I was like, I will definitely be back in November to celebrate with them moving into the new facility, and being a part of the history of what God has done for them. But I just wanted to share, you all, back to my journey of finding a church home, or not even right now. I'm not looking for a church home. I'm absolutely not looking for a church home. I got makeup on my earring. I had conversation with my therapist, and we talked about just visiting for right now, and seeing what place, what type of environment that I'm really looking for, and not being in a rush about it. I have a better understanding at this phase and age in life of what I'm looking for, what I'm not looking for, what's acceptable for me, what's not acceptable, what are deal breakers. And so I'm going to take my time. But one thing I am going to do is I am going to still find myself in the house of the Lord. And if that's something that I can encourage people, because I know a lot of people who've been listening to me, they have found themselves, for whatever reason, they found themselves in between churches, still loving God, still wanting a relationship with God, but for whatever reason, they found themselves, not being able to settle on a church home for a variety of reasons. Nowadays, people have a lot that they're dealing with and going through, and it's just not like it was, in the days of old, where you just go somewhere. It's just not like that anymore. For one, you have several different options. You have online options. You have in-person options. You have to think about, if it is someplace you like, is it truly worth you spending gas and the time on the highway and even toll nowadays, to travel? And are you willing to make that commitment to, be so far away from a church that you really like? Or if it's something more local, and so, does it work for your family? Does it work for your spouse? Does it work for your children? Do they have a children's ministry? So not only do you have to consider, the things that work for you, you have to consider what works for your family as well. And so, those of you who are in that situation, in that predicament, just take your time, but still, you have to, it's like dating. You have to get out there, you have to get out there to see what's out there, to even know what's a fit or not. You can do online for sure, but until you feel it in person, feel the environment in person, you won't really know. And so, um, that's what I plan to do, to just go. I also want to experience God, in different ways. Just, you know, I don't even know how to really articulate that right now. I just know that I want to experience God in different ways. And so that's where I know, will be happening in this season for me. But I will say this, my niece, I told her, you let me know whenever you wanted to visit that church and just give me a heads up, and then I'll plan for it. And it happened to be this Sunday she wanted to visit. And so I'm willing to be that friend to, people who I know who are in this situation, I'll go with you, to visit a church to see if it's a fit for you or not. I'll go with you, and, we'll experience it together to see if it's a good thing for you or not, or if it was, it. You won't know until you go. You won't know until you go. But in the meantime, absolutely maintain your relationship with the Lord, your prayer time, your time, in God's Word, and then also know this: a lot of people, believe it or not, who have not, settled on a place of worship, it's not that they don't know God. A lot of people I know who are in the same situation that, I'm finding myself in right now, worked in ministry, have had a relationship, been saved for many, many years. So it's not like you are, will just be so lost without, rushing to find a church home. We all know that is not the case. But in this season, wisdom says, take your time and find out if that's going to be a place of worship for you. Make sure they serve the type of chicken you like. That seems to be the thing. I made a post about chicken because, folks are talking about now they sell chicken and this is what they do at their church. Okay, fine. So I used that analogy on a post on Facebook about, my son works at a Michelin star restaurant and they serve chicken. They absolutely serve some of the most amazing fried chicken, but they also serve caviar, right? And so I like fried chicken. I love fried chicken. But I would be foolish to go to Church's Chicken, the franchise Church's Chicken. I would be foolish to go to Church's Chicken and pull up and put in an order for some wings, a biscuit, and some caviar, because they don't serve that there. They serve what they serve. They serve their recipe. They serve their sides, their drinks. That's all they serve. They don't serve caviar. But if I want caviar with my fried chicken, I'm going to go to the place that serves that. So just keep that in mind. That was the gist of my post when I posted it, that, everybody doesn't serve the same thing. And it's okay. Where it becomes your responsibility, and then where you want to be held accountable, is to make sure you are not pulling up to a church, expecting them to serve something they don't serve, that they don't have, and then you'll be frustrated. So this goes back to to your expectations, keeping it real with yourself, keeping it real with what you like and what you don't like. Because even if they don't serve what you like, or they may serve things seasonally. Okay, I'm using, analogy, but let's get specific. So if you go to a church where, again, they don't flow in the fivefold ministry, or they do just, occasionally, if that's fine for you, then that'll work for you. But if you need, the operations of the fivefold ministry gifts and operations on a regular, you make sure you find a place of worship where you'll see that in action, on a regular basis, so that you're not frustrated. Because if they're not serving what you are looking for, and you you claim that as your home church and your place of worship, then over time you're going to get frustrated, and you're not going to be happy. But that's what you chose, knowing that they don't really have what you have to, they don't really offer what you want, or even what you need, or what you desire. So just be careful and be mindful. That's why it's really, really important to just take your time. Visit, definitely visit. But take your time. Take your time in this season to make sure that, you're prayerful and you're asking God where you need to be. I'm also finding out in this season that it's really something. These past couple of weeks for me have been interesting, in that I've been able to minister in other capacities, not preaching, but in serving and cooking, and ministering to people through food. And by me being able to do that, it reminded me that when I'm looking for a place of worship now, I have to make sure that I don't feel stuck. I have to make sure that I'm at a place where I could freely evangelize in different capacities, whether it's preaching, whether it's just going to minister at other places, whether I need to be a way to cook for someone, to host someone. Maybe, we have different artists who may come into town that, I might need to host them, or I might need to cook for them, and, to help serve them while they're ministering and doing what they need to do. So I'm learning that I have to have flexibility in where I choose to go to worship, because I may not be there every Sunday, but, I would still be a part of that ministry and connected to it. So just things like that. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. If you're someone who, needs that flexibility to be able to minister, or you won't be around as often, keep all of those different things in mind when considering a place of worship. But the main thing is, be on the lookout and be prayerful and ask God for a place of worship. And in the meantime, just go visit. Find yourself in that. What I am not going to do, and I would pray that you don't do, just because, it may not have worked out at one place. Don't stop going to church. Church is still community, especially in this climate we're in. There's so much stuff going on. Church is community, and it's good. It's good to get out of the house. It's good to, go and have corporate worship and fellowship and pray, with God's people. Even if you don't know them, it's okay. You don't have to know God's people to have a connection and be able to worship and fellowship and pray with people. But I would encourage you, definitely still continue to go to church. It may not be the same church every Sunday, but go, and then make some time for yourself. Go visit, and then maybe have a Sunday to assess where you've been, and, check the boxes. Does this work? What did this church have? What didn't that church have? What did this church have? What was good about this one? The pros and cons. What was good about this church? What was not so good about this church? Were they friendly? Were they more consumed about the work that they were doing than really, reaching out to the people? Do they have the community presence in their in the neighborhood of their church, or are they just focused on themselves? Whatever it is, make a list. Take 3 Sundays to visit. Take a Sunday to do an assessment. Sit back and mentally assess where you've been over the month, and and see what you come up with, and just keep doing that until you land somewhere. But in the meantime, I'm sure God will still make sure you get what you need, that you'll hear from Him today. As a visitor, I still got an amazing word from the Lord. I really did, and I'm thankful for that. And God knows what I needed to hear, what I needed, the type of instruction that I needed in this season. One of the things that the pastor said today, Pastor Chris, his sermon, he was doing a series on distractions, and he talked about being distracted. And sure enough, just like the devil, sure enough, after church, a situation came up. Not immediately leaving there, and it had nothing to do with that church at all, but just stuff going on in my life personally. Sure enough, something came up that I had to realize this is nothing but a distraction, because I had an amazing worship experience. I was feeling good. And then all of a sudden, something came up, and it was a distraction from what God had just spoken to me, and what God is doing, and where God is leading and guiding me. So I have to be mindful of the distractions that, and God wanted me to know, to be mindful of the distractions that are coming at me in this season, and how I have to handle them. Not blow up, not go off or whatever, but I have to use some wisdom in this season, because distractions will come, and they'll try to derail you and get you off course, and from being focused on what really the things that God has in store. So anyway, again, be encouraged. There is a place of worship for you. You just have to choose wisely. You have to be bold enough and courageous enough to go visit, and vulnerable too. You got to be vulnerable, to put yourself out there to go visit places and see. But just don't get stuck. Don't just stay at home. Get out there, especially while we have this good weather too. When it's storming and stuff. I know a lot of people who have a place of worship, they tend to stay in and not want to weather storms and rains and all that kind of stuff. But right now we have some beautiful weather, and take advantage of that. Take advantage of getting out and, going to explore and seeing what's out there. And main thing about it is to pray and ask God to order your steps and to lead and guide you, because He knows what's best for you and what you need and what your family needs in this season. Because again, it's not just about you. For those of you who have, especially those of you who have children, young children, teenage children, young adults, definitely pray about that, because, it's so much going on out there.